United States President Donald Trump is trying quite aggressively to distance himself from the Epstein case. Today, Trump nervously tried to disassociate himself from the case involving convicted rapist and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He did everything he could to convince journalists that he was never connected to him and never went to his island. Well, later his vice president J.D. Vance stated that it was Obama, Bush and Biden who are the criminals, because supposedly they were the ones hiding the Epstein case from the public and didn't want to condemn him. So it's not Trump, but 2 or even 3 Democrats who are more likely to be involved in Epstein's crimes. But what's even more telling is how Trump's team is now trying to attack 94-year-old Rupert Murdoch, who owns the newspaper that recently published information that Trump sent Epstein obscene postcards with hints at sexual crimes during the period when, according to Trump, he was no longer in contact with Epstein. But in the end, Trump completely shocked Americans today when he announced that he plans to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's convicted accomplice, who is currently in custody and whom they want to question about Trump's involvement in this case. My name is Alexei Pecci. Today is July 28th. Let's discuss this topic together. Let's talk about the statements of Donald Trump and James David Vance, as well as his entire team regarding the Epstein case. Before we begin, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, leave any comment you want, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel. The link is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as soon as it comes in. So, today Donald Trump continued trying to distance himself from Jeffrey Epstein, telling reporters that he never drew a woman in birthday greetings and never visited Epstein's island, and that he broke off relations with the disgraced financier after an unacceptable incident. He did not specify which incident exactly. His vague answers to journalists during a bilateral meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer highlighted that Trump could not avoid questions about Epstein even during his trip abroad. Let me remind you, he is currently in Scotland. And when asked about the Epstein scandal, Trump replied that he isn't very interested in it. He called the ongoing consequences of the memorandum published by the United States Department of Justice and the FBI a hoax that has been blown out of all proportion. The United States President made it clear that if there were any compromising or indecent information about his relationship with Epstein, the Democrats would have made it public already. Although, in fact, they did so the day before in the newspaper. They published it. But Trump disavowed a recent article about a birthday greeting to Epstein from 2003, which included Donald Trump's signature and a drawing of a naked woman. And today Trump commented on it like this: I don't draw, I don't draw, I don't draw. Sometimes people ask, could you draw a building? And I draw 4 lines and a little roof, for charity. But I don't draw women, that's for sure. They say there's a drawing of a woman, but I don't draw women. What are your thoughts on that explanation? It's a verbatim quote from Donald Trump. Let me remind you, it was reported that they got access to Epstein's greeting cards from 2003, and among them was a card from Donald Trump with such obscene content. Although Trump insisted that by that time he was no longer in contact with Epstein. The president also commented on his decision to cut ties with Epstein long before the financier was charged with criminal offenses. Here's a quote from Trump. For years, I didn't speak with Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't speak with him because he did something inappropriate. What do you think he did that was so inappropriate? After which Trump stopped communicating with him. Here's the quote. He hired my assistants and I told him never to do that again. He took away people who worked for me. I said never do that again. He did it again and I kicked him out, made him persona non grata. I kicked him out and that's it. I'm glad I did that. Tran also emphasized that he had never been to the island, meaning Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. Another quote, I have never been to his island and I refused. Many residents of Palm Beach were invited to his island. At one of the best moments, I refused. I didn't want to go to his island. So in the end, Donald Trump sues the newspaper, saying there was no postcard and that the newspaper is lying about everything. But it's telling that according to new court documents, President Donald Trump's lawyers on Monday asked the judge to allow them to question Rupert Murdoch within the next 15 days as part of their lawsuit. They are seeking to expedite the questioning as much as possible because Murdoch is already 94 years old. And according to them, he is in such poor health that he might simply not live long enough to make it to the court hearing. This is such an aggressive move, and in general such testimony is rarely, very rarely provided before a judge even considers whether the circumstances of the case are significant enough to bring it to court. I want to emphasize that the judge hasn't made a decision yet. There is only a lawsuit at this point. Trump's lawyers are saying to start questioning Murdoch. Earlier this month, Trump sued its parent company and its owner, Murdoch, as well as others from that company. In response to an article about a collection of letters given to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003, among which was a note signed by Trump and a photo of a naked woman. The newspaper stands by its position, says these are authentic postcards and all the defendants deny any wrongdoing. But according to Donald Trump's team, it's not just the newspaper that's to blame. Everyone is to blame except Trump. And today, Vice President J.D. Vance also tried to distance the Trump administration from the ongoing consequences of its actions regarding the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. He stated that President Donald Trump wants full transparency, and that former presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and George Bush Jr. simply covered up this case, and so they are to blame. They are all to blame, but Trump is not. Quote from Vance. The president instructed the Attorney General to release all credible information and, frankly, even to find additional credible information related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He was incredibly candid on this issue, but some of these questions take time. The Vice President further added that he is in constant communication with Attorney General Pam Bondi and that she is currently working hard on this issue. Instead, Vance then seemed to target the Obama and Bush administrations, which he said were lenient with Epstein. Quote, "They didn't fully investigate the case, they showed no interest in it." And now Donald Trump is asking his Department of Justice to demonstrate full transparency, and somehow this is being framed as criticism of Donald Trump, not Barack Obama and George W. Bush. So, according to James David Vance's logic, the fact that Trump says show all the documents but in reality doesn't show them somehow proves that he's not guilty of anything at all. It's the predecessors who are to blame for everything. Although, to be fair, it's worth adding that it was under Bush. Federal prosecutor Alex Acosta, who later served as Secretary of Labor in Donald Trump's first administration, really did refuse to bring criminal charges against Epstein, which allowed him to avoid federal charges. Epstein ended up serving 13 months in a state prison on prostitution charges related to his sexual relationships with underage girls. But in the end, today, Trump himself started to get entangled in this story. The thing is, today Trump said that he might pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, stating that he has the authority to grant a pardon to Jeffrey Epstein's convicted associate. The point is, right now in the States, they're demanding that Maxwell, who is in prison, be questioned again. Trump also expressed disinterest in the Epstein case, causing dissatisfaction among his voters. Since some influential Make America Great Again figures are calling for more transparency after his administration itself previously promised to release the Epstein files. But so far, nothing has gone beyond promises. And today's statement from Trump is now public knowledge. In my opinion, they are quite strange. Well, be sure to write your opinion and your conclusions in the comments under this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care, everyone. Bye. Subtitles created by